Well guys, Tropical Storm Elsa has passed, so I thought I'd do this quick little video for y'all today, showing some discoveries that I have found, as well as 4.6 Savage, and what I think I've come up with to bulletproof the PI intake. Alright guys, so you can see back here on this nipple, I have this hose. The reason I have this hose is because the factory nipple is a lot bigger. I needed to close that gap, because this broke off and the nipple that I found that would fit through there was smaller. So I found a nipple that would go down in this hole, and I epoxied it. I put epoxy on the nipple, I slid it in, I epoxied all around here, and I haven't had any issues with it since. This hose right here is a spacer, so when the other hose goes over, it fits perfectly. I've never had a leak from this. Another thing I see people do is they take a copper tube, a little piece of pipe for propane or whatever, you can get it at Home Depot, fits perfectly down inside the factory piece, and they'll drive it down. Now if you look at the bottom side, that is offset. So what they'll do is they'll epoxy right around this floor. They'll put epoxy on the tube when they drive it in, epoxy around this floor, and that creates a copper tube in here that is completely sealed. The coolant never touches the plastic in doing that. I think that will be the strongest method, because it seems like the coolant is what's eating the plastic away. See how brittle? I barely touched that and it came off. So if you look at this, if you had a tube in here that went all the way through, and the coolant traveled through the copper rather than through the plastic, it wouldn't erode or eat away the plastic. Another option I've seen people cut it off right here, thread the plastic, and put an MPT thread nipple, and they screw it in, use some sealer on it, and that has worked for them too. If you have an issue with this broke nipple back here, you are not out of an intake. There is repairs, there is ways around this. There are ways around this, I should say. Now the issue I had, as you can see, this is where it mounts. This is where gasket material was pushed up, but this wall where the gasket goes had broke away, and it was leaking fluid, coolant. What I have thought about several times, and then 4.6 Savage confirmed this, is if you take and you cut this off, this part right here, the gasket right here would mount straight to this crossover. Now the crossover would set, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 of an inch lower, but you can use washers. I don't even know if he's using washers to correct the difference. It's just for stability for the top of the alternator. The bottom two bolts take the most force, so it's just to keep it from rocking forward. Regardless, you cut them off, and then you just use the gasket to seal this to the head, eliminating this in-between piece right here. Now you can see, look at that. That's all I did was lift up on that. I mean, that's how brittle this stuff gets. So by fixing this and fixing this, you eliminate where the coolant passes through. Especially if you had a metal sleeve in there, the coolant would never touch the inside of this barb here, and it wouldn't eat it out like it does here and here. So you take a Dremel or something, cut it around the line, so the crossover can be mounted, and this could be mounted to the head just through the gasket. So I hope that makes sense. I'm hoping this helps somebody. Like I said, 4.6 Savage does have his crossover exactly the way I'm saying it. He cut these tabs off, mounted the crossover straight to the head just using the gasket. I've had mine just the nipple. So this is going to be a backup intake that I'm going to use. I'm going to cut this off, and if I have another issue ever, I'm going to do the same thing I just talked about. But like I said, he does that, I do that. Together, it should bulletproof a factory plastic PI intake. So again, I apologize for the wind noise. We are in the aftermath of Tropical Storm Elsa. I knew she was a bitch. I knew she was going to do this. Anyway, I hope that this might help somebody. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think. You think this is going to be a effective band-aid, I would say. They don't make the Typhoon anymore. People don't like the Typhoon because it's metal. There's ways around that. The fact that it can be taken apart, the inside can be coated with heat product, the outside can be heat wrapped. I don't know if y'all know this, but the bottom part on these from the Mercuries and stuff actually set in an insulated, like a blanket. So you could take heat wrap, which is what I plan on doing, and wrap in the bottom. So if I ever find a Typhoon, or if they ever get the Edelbrock Performer in, or the Victor. Now I know with the Victor, I'm going to lose some power, I'm going to lose some low end. But if I have to never deal with any coolant issue like that again, that'll be golden. I'm almost thinking, like I said, Savage has his that way, I've had mine that way. I haven't had any issues, he hasn't had any issues. I think combined, we have bulletproof this PI intake. Again, let me know what y'all think.
I won't turn around, I done made it this far. Look back now, that wouldn't be too smart. Shoot for the stars even when it gets hard. Put my faith in the Lord with the 60 bars. I won't turn around, I done made it this far. Look back now, that wouldn't be too smart. Shoot for the stars even when it gets hard. Put my faith in the Lord with the 60 bars. I won't turn around, I won't turn around. No matter how far I go, I'll never come.